What was not normal about Eala's latest match with Coco Gauff has been pointed out by Steve Johnson. In the quarterfinals of the Dubai Tennis Championships, Gauff handed Eala a heavy defeat, beating her in straight sets, 6-0, 6-2. The American came out on top despite the crowd heavily favoring the Filipino, which has been a common theme for the latter since she burst onto the scene last year. Eala's fanbase has shown strong support at every tour-level event she has appeared at, but former American player Steve Johnson was surprised to see such a one-sided crowd when she played Gauff. Tennis is built on patterns. The favorite dictates. The underdog absorbs. Rankings usually echo reality. But every so often, a match tilts the court on its axis and forces everyone watching to blink twice. That's what happened when Eala stepped across the net from Coco Gauff. On paper, it looked routine. A Grand Slam champion. A proven top-tier competitor. A young challenger still carving her place in the professional ranks. But as former ATP pro Steve Johnson pointed out in his analysis, something about this match simply wasn't normal. It wasn't just the scoreline. It wasn't just momentum swings. It was the tone. From the first few games, Eala didn't play like someone measuring herself against greatness. She played like she belonged in the same sentence. Johnson highlighted the most striking irregularity, the absence of intimidation. Against a player like Gauff, whose speed, defense, and championship pedigree tend to suffocate opponents, many players start cautiously. They trade safely cross-court. They wait for errors. They test the waters. Eala didn't test anything. She struck first. The rallies weren't the usual Gauff script, where she extends points and forces opponents to overhit. Instead, Eala redirected pace early, took the ball on the rise, and stepped inside the baseline with a decisiveness that disrupted rhythm. Johnson emphasized how unusual that was, not because aggression against Gauff is rare, but because sustained aggression without hesitation is. There was no visible adjustment period. That's what wasn't normal. Typically, younger players need time to process the weight of the moment. They double fault in early games. They rush forehands. They glance too often at their box. But Eala's composure felt oddly mature. Johnson noted how her body language stayed steady even after lost points. No dramatic reactions. No shrinking shoulders. It was as if she had rehearsed this stage in her mind long before stepping onto it. And then there was the tempo. Gauff is known for turning defense into offense in the blink of an eye. Many matches against her become physical marathons. Yet this contest had an unpredictable rhythm. Short bursts of high-speed exchanges followed by sudden strike points. Eala wasn't content to grind endlessly. She changed direction early. She flattened out balls down the line. She forced Gauff to generate instead of counter. Johnson suggested that this strategic boldness disrupted what fans have come to expect in a Gauff matchup. Normally, opponents react. Here, Gauff had to recalibrate. That inversion of roles is rare. Another not normal element Johnson alluded to was the crowd energy. In matches featuring a global star like Gauff, the atmosphere often leans heavily one way. But this time, there was a palpable sense of intrigue, almost anticipation, whenever Eala lined up a forehand or stepped into a return. The energy wasn't just supportive. It was curious. People sensed possibility. And possibility changes dynamics. Gauff thrives in structured battles. She solves problems mid-match better than most. But this match carried flashes of unpredictability that forced both players into uncomfortable spaces. There were rallies that felt like chess at 100 miles per hour. Angles sharp, depth relentless. Johnson's larger point wasn't that Gauff underperformed. It was that Eala overperformed in ways that defied the typical developmental arc. She didn't look like a player gaining experience. She looked like one applying it. Perhaps the most telling abnormality was the psychological equilibrium. Gauff has been on tennis's biggest stages and navigated the heaviest expectations. When she plays less established opponents, there's often a visible shift when pressure mounts. Her experience becomes the separating line. But in this match, That line blurred. Eala absorbed pressure moments with surprising clarity. Break points didn't spiral into panic. Long deuce games didn't erode her patience. Johnson pointed out that such steadiness, especially against a competitor of Gauff's caliber, is not common for someone still ascending the rankings. There's also the tactical courage factor. Facing a defensive counterpuncher, most players hesitate to approach the net. Passing shots and speed can be punishing. Yet Eala mixed in forward movement strategically, shortening points and preventing Gauff from settling into extended exchanges. That willingness to risk, to finish, to take control. Johnson framed it as a sign that the match wasn't unfolding in a predictable hierarchy. In tennis, normal often means the favorite imposes structure. This match felt like shared authorship. And maybe that's the real takeaway. When Johnson described the match as not normal, he wasn't criticizing its quality. He was highlighting its shift in expectation. The narrative of veteran versus prospect dissolved into something more balanced, more electric. It felt less like a checkpoint in Gauff season and more like a signal flare for Eala's future. Every sport has moments when trajectory changes are visible before rankings confirm them. A set here. A fearless return game there. A body language shift that says, I'm not visiting, I'm arriving. Matches like this don't just measure skill, they reveal mindset. What stood out wasn't just that Eala could trade blows with Gauff. It was that she did so without waiting for permission. That's not normal.